a compelling idea circulating among retiring people today. It sounds simple: save $300,000, move to a paradise like Portugal or Thailand, live on $1,000 a month using the 4% rule, and never work again. Financial independence by 50. Escape the corporate grind. But in today's video, I want to shatter that illusion. Let me tell you about a friend I met in Chiang Mai in 2019. Let's call him Mark. By then, Mark had it all figured out. He had spreadsheets, plans, and savings. But his dream of early retirement didn't last 30 years. It only lasted 4. His $320,000 portfolio, it collapsed to $180,000. Here's the scary part. He didn't do anything wrong. He was calculating. He did exactly what the blogs and YouTube gurus told him to do. And yet it still destroyed him. Let me tell you exactly what happened. He was 42 years old. He had saved exactly $320,000. He had quit his corporate job in Chicago 3 years earlier, moved to Thailand, and was living on $1,100 a month. He rented a beautiful apartment with a view of the mountains. He ate street food for breakfast, practiced meditation every morning, and spent his afternoons reading books he'd been meaning to read for 20 years. When I asked him about his life, his eyes lit up with the kind of joy you rarely see in people who work 60-hour weeks in corporate America. This is real freedom, he told me. I wake up when I want, I do what I want. Nobody tells me what to do anymore. I'll never go back to that life. Never. I appreciated that confidence. I really did. Following some of the channels sharing Charlie Munger's investing portfolios advice, I understood why the math seemed so compelling to him. $320,000 invested conservatively, 4% annual withdrawal, $12,800 a year. In Thailand, that's more than enough. You can live like royalty on that kind of money in Chiang Mai. The numbers made perfect sense. The spreadsheet was beautiful. Everything added up. 4 years later, I saw him again. He was working remotely 50 hours a week for a startup in San Francisco. He lived in a smaller apartment. The view of the mountains was gone. He looked tired. He looked stressed. He looked like someone who had been defeated by something he didn't see coming. His shoulders hunched forward when he talked. His eyes had lost that spark. He was a man who had tasted freedom and lost it. What happened? His mother had a stroke. She lived alone in Wisconsin. He flew back to the United States 4 times in 8 months. Each trip cost $2,000 for flights, plus hotels, plus rental cars, plus eating out because he couldn't cook in a hotel room, medical expenses that insurance didn't cover. Time away from his carefully budgeted life. Meanwhile, the bear market of 2022 hit. His portfolio dropped 35% precisely when he needed to withdraw the most. The timing couldn't have been worse. Markets crashed, and his mother needed him on the other side of the world. $320,000 had become $180,000 in just 4 years. The retirement he thought would last forever, gone before his 46th birthday. Here's the thing that haunts me. He was smart. He was disciplined. He planned carefully. He followed every rule in the FIRE playbook. And it still wasn't enough. He just didn't have enough buffer for the things nobody can predict. That's what I want to talk about today. This isn't just a story about retirement planning. It's about a thinking error I see everywhere in how people choose careers, how they invest, how they build relationships, how they take care of their health. The error is this: optimizing for minimum viable instead of margin of safety. Charlie Munger's advice in countless talks and interviews always returned to this principle. In 50 years of building Berkshire Hathaway with Warren Buffett, the most important lesson wasn't how to make money. It was how not to lose it, not how to win big, how to never get knocked out. That principle is called margin of safety, and it applies to everything in life, not just investing. Before we decide whether $300,000 is enough or not, let's do something that most people never do. Let's invert the question. Other YouTube channels discussing Charlie Munger's retirement advice often focus on the success stories. They show you the people living on beaches in Bali, working 2 hours a day from their laptops, sipping coconut water while watching the sunset. Those stories are real. Some people do live that life. But if you think you are planning a cash-safer retirement at 50, Charlie Munger's perspectives recommend looking at it differently. Most people ask, what's the minimum amount I need to stop working? That's the wrong question. It's the question of someone trying to escape something, not someone trying to build something. The right question is, what destroys people who retire early with minimal capital, and how do I avoid those things? The mathematician Jacobi had a saying I've carried with me for 60 years. Invert, always invert. Turn the problem upside down. Study the failures, not just the successes. If you want to know how to live well, first study what makes people miserable. If you want to know how to invest successfully, first study what makes people lose money. If you want to know how to retire early successfully, first study what makes early retirees fail. When I invert the $300,000 retirement question, here's what I find. The people who fail don't fail for one reason. They fail for one of these reasons. First, market crash in the first 5 years. This is called sequence of returns risk, a term that sounds technical but has very human consequences. If the market drops 40% in your first year of retirement, you're forced to withdraw from a portfolio that's already shrunk. You need $12,000 to live, but your portfolio is now $180,000 instead of $300,000. That $12,000 withdrawal is now 6.7% of your portfolio, not 4%. And that portfolio never fully recovers because you keep withdrawing while it's trying to grow back. The math is brutal and unforgiving. Healthcare costs, not everyday healthcare, not the $20 copay for a checkup, a heart attack, a cancer diagnosis, a car accident, a fall that breaks your hip, things that happen to everyone who lives long enough, things that cost $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 or more, things that weren't in the spreadsheet because nobody wants to think about them when they're 35 and healthy. Third, family emergencies. Parents get sick, children need help, siblings face crises, obligations you can't refuse and can't budget for in advance. When your mother has a stroke, you don't check your spreadsheet to see if you can afford to fly home. You fly home. These things don't care about your carefully planned $1,000 monthly budget. Fourth, currency risk. You're living on Thai baht, but your assets are in US dollars. When exchange rates move 20-30%, and they do regularly, your budget collapses overnight. You haven't changed your spending. You haven't done anything wrong. The world changed around you. The dollar weakened, or the baht strengthened, and suddenly your $1,000 monthly withdrawal only buys $750 worth of goods and services. Fifth, loneliness and psychological costs. This doesn't appear in any spreadsheet. Nobody makes a line item for money I'll spend because I'm desperately lonely. But it appears in real life. Loneliness makes people spend money on things they never planned for. Alcohol to numb the emptiness, eating out every night for human contact, constant travel to escape the boredom, shopping to fill the void that relationships used to fill. None of these things are impossible. All of them are probable if you live long enough. The question isn't whether they'll happen. The question is whether you have enough buffer to survive when they do. Let's talk about the 4% rule, the foundation of every FIRE retirement plan. This is the number everyone quotes. This is the math that makes $300,000 seem like enough. This rule comes from the Trinity study in 1998. Researchers at Trinity University looked at U.S. market history, decades of stock and bond returns, and concluded, if you withdraw 4% annually from a diversified portfolio, you have a 95% probability of not running out of money over 30 years. 95% sounds excellent. It sounds like you basically won. It sounds like you can quit your job tomorrow and never worry again. until you think about what 5% failure means. If 1,000 people follow this plan, 50 will run out of money. 50 people will watch their savings dwindle to zero. 50 people will have to return to work at 60, 65, or 70 with a 20 to 30-year resume gap and declining health. 50 people will have to explain to hiring managers why they haven't worked in 2 decades. 50 people will face old age with nothing. Would you play Russian roulette with 1 bullet in 20 chambers? That's 5%, 1 in 20. Would you bet your entire future on those odds? But it gets worse, much worse. The 4% rule rests on assumptions nobody tells you about. Hidden assumptions that can turn that 95% success rate into something much uglier. Assumption 1, you're investing in U.S. markets during the 20th century, arguably the greatest wealth creation period in human history. America won 2 world wars, became the global superpower, invented the internet, dominated global trade, and had the reserve currency of the world. Nothing guarantees the 21st century will repeat it. Japan's market is still below its 1,989 peak. That's 35 years of zero returns for buy and hold investors. Could that happen in America? Nobody knows. Assumption 2, you won't panic sell. The study assumes you stay perfectly calm when your portfolio drops 40%. You'll stay calm, withdraw only 4%, and trust the plan. But when $300,000 becomes $180,000, and that's everything you have, when that's the only thing standing between you and poverty, will you really stay calm? Human beings are not rational about money when they're scared. That's not a character flaw. That's psychology. It's the same psychology that causes people to sell at market bottoms throughout history. Assumption 3, 30 years is enough. The Trinity study looked at 30-year periods. But if you retire at 35, you need 50 to 60 years, not 30. You need your money to last twice as long. The failure rate over 50 years is dramatically higher than over 30. Some studies suggest it could be 15, 20% instead of 5%. Assumption 4, living costs don't rise faster than inflation. The study assumes your spending grows at the general inflation rate. But in developing countries, the places you move to because their cheap inflation often runs 5 to 8% annually. Thailand, Vietnam, Colombia, Portugal. These places are cheap now, but they're getting more expensive every year, faster than the U.S. Your purchasing power erodes faster than your portfolio grows. Following Charlie Munger's retirement income advice, my wisdom will expose another critical risk that most people ignore entirely. Sequence of returns risk. Let me show you how this works with 2 scenarios that will change how you think about retirement math. Scenario A, you retire with $300,000. Year 1, the market rises 20%. Your portfolio grows to $360,000. You withdraw $12,000. You have $348,000. Year 2, up 15%. Portfolio grows to $400,000. You withdraw $12,000. You have $388,000. Year 3, the market crashes 30%. Portfolio drops to $272,000. But you're still okay because you built up a buffer in the good years. After 3 years, you have approximately $320,000. You're fine. You're actually ahead of where you started. Scenario B, same $300,000. Same average returns over 3 years. But the order reverses. Year 1, the market crashes 30%. Your portfolio drops to $210,000. You withdraw $12,000. You have $198,000. Year 2, up 15%. Portfolio grows to $228,000. You withdraw $12,000. You have $216,000. Year 3, up 20%. Portfolio grows to $259,000. You withdraw $12,000. You have $247,000. Same average return. Different sequence. After 3 years, you have $247,000 instead of $320,000. That's a $73,000 difference. Nearly 25% of your starting capital, just from the order of returns. You don't control the sequence. You don't know whether your first year of retirement will be a bull market or a bear market. If you retire at the start of a crash, you're in scenario B. Your retirement might be doomed from day one through no fault of your own. That's not planning. That's gambling. If you want 98% success probability instead of 95%, with a 40 to 50 year timeline instead of 30, with buffer for emergencies, here's the real math. Not 4% withdrawal rate, 3% or 2.5%. Not $300,000, $600,000 to $800,000 just for passive income, plus $100,000 to $200,000 in emergency reserves you never touch, except for true emergencies, plus skills that can generate $20,000 to $30,000 annually if needed. That's genuine security. Everything below that is hope disguised as planning. How do you know about $300,000 retirement? Where did you first hear this idea? From blog posts, from YouTube videos, from Twitter threads, from people who claim to have done it and want to teach you how. Who writes that content? The people for whom it worked. You don't hear from the people who failed. They don't write blog posts titled, "I retired at 35 and went broke at 42. They don't make YouTube videos called, "My fire plan destroyed my life." They quietly return to work and don't talk about it. They're too ashamed, too embarrassed, too busy trying to rebuild their lives, to create content about their failure. This is survivorship bias, one of the most dangerous cognitive biases, because it's invisible. You only see the people who survived. You don't see those who didn't. And you incorrectly conclude that success rates are high. In investing, we have a saying, don't confuse a bull market with genius. Everyone looks smart when stocks go up. The real test comes when they go down. Don't confuse luck with strategy. Don't confuse a good outcome with a good decision. When you see 50 people on YouTube claiming $300K retirement works, your brain interprets this as validation, social proof. If all these people did it, surely I can too. But 50 people, what percentage is that of everyone who tried? You don't know. Nobody tracks the failures. Maybe 500 people tried and 50 succeeded. That's a 10% success rate. Would you take those odds? Maybe 5,000 people tried and 50 succeeded. That's a 1% success rate. Those are lottery odds. Availability bias makes you judge probability based on what you can see, not what actually happens. The success stories are visible, the failures are invisible. So you overestimate success rates dramatically. There's another psychological trick at play. Notice how every $300K retirement content is framed. The secret they don't want you to know. Who is they? The financial industry, Wall Street, the system, your parents, your boss, everyone who benefits from you staying in the rat race. This framing triggers your sense that something is being withheld from you. It makes you feel smarter than the crowd. You're seeing something others don't see. You're discovering a secret that will set you free. But geographic arbitrage retirement isn't a secret. Everyone knows Thailand is cheaper than New York. Everyone knows you can live on less money in Portugal than in San Francisco. Nobody is hiding this information. It's on the first page of Google. The financial industry doesn't recommend geographic arbitrage retirement, not because they're hiding anything, but because the failure rate is high and the liability is enormous. When you give advice professionally, you don't recommend strategies with 20-30% failure rates. You recommend strategies with 2 to 3% failure rates. That's not conspiracy. That's prudence. That's not wanting to get sued when people's lives fall apart. And the people selling you this secret, they have their own incentives. Blog traffic generates ad revenue. YouTube views generate ad revenue. Affiliate links to expat services generate commissions. Course sales generate direct income. They make money when you click, not when you succeed. Their business model requires you to believe the dream is achievable. Let me tell you about healthcare. Not healthcare at 35 when you're healthy and invincible. Healthcare at 55, 60, 65. At 35, you think health problems are someone else's problem. You run marathons. You do yoga. You eat kale smoothies. You'll never be one of those sick old people. The statistics say otherwise. 60% of people over 65 have at least one chronic condition. Not some people or unhealthy people, 60% of everyone. Diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, hypertension. These things come for almost everyone eventually. Average healthcare costs triple from age 50 to 70, not increase triple. What costs $5,000 at 50 costs $15,000 at 70. A single course of cancer treatment can cost $100,000 to $300,000. One diagnosis, 1 year of treatment, 3 to 10 times your annual retirement budget. You're in Chiang Mai on your $1,000 monthly budget, living your best life. You discover a tumor during a routine checkup. Can the local hospital handle it? Maybe, maybe not. Thai hospitals are good for many things, but complex oncology, specialized surgery, cutting-edge treatments. If you need complex treatment, you fly to Bangkok or Singapore, or back to America, where healthcare costs are astronomical, but the quality is world-class for serious conditions. Suddenly, 1 year of healthcare costs equals 10 years of living expenses. $300,000 has no buffer for this scenario. $300,000 assumes you stay healthy forever, or at least that your health problems are cheap to fix. That's not an assumption. That's a fantasy. If you're over 50 looking at retirement planning, this is Charlie Munger's retirement planning recommended approach. Plan for declining health, not perfect health. Plan for the worst, not the average. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Now let's talk about something that never appears in any retirement calculator, something that no spreadsheet can quantify: loneliness. When you move to a new country at 35, you don't move into a community, you move into an expat bubble. These bubbles exist in Chiang Mai, in Lisbon, in Medellin, in Bali. They're full of people just like you, people who move for cheap living, for adventure, for escape. The people in that bubble are as transient as you are. They come for 6 months, then move to the next place. They come for a year, then go home. Nobody builds deep roots because nobody commits. You make friends, and they leave. You make new friends, and they leave too. The relationships you left behind, family, 20-year friendships, people who knew you before you were successful, people who loved you when you had nothing, those relationships can't be replicated through video calls. A WhatsApp message doesn't replace sitting across from someone at dinner. A Zoom call doesn't replace being there when someone needs you. And loneliness has costs, not costs you budget for, costs you spend to cope. Drinking more than you should because alcohol numbs the emptiness. Eating out every night because you can't face another solo dinner in your apartment. Constant travel because maybe the next place will feel more like home. Shopping to fill the void that relationships used to fill. These things eat into your $1,000 monthly budget. And worse, they don't fix loneliness. They only numb it temporarily. The void remains. Research shows loneliness has health impacts equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It literally shortens your life. It increases risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia. Loneliness kills people. Here's something else nobody tells you about. Plan B. What happens if your $300K plan fails? Your plan fails in year 7. You're 42 years old. $180,000 remaining after market crashes and emergencies. Your withdrawal rate has crept up to 7%, then 8%, then 9%. Unsustainable. The math doesn't work anymore. You need to return to work. Your resume shows a 7-year gap. What were you doing? The hiring manager asks. Living in Thailand, you say. Their eyebrows raise. What does a hiring manager see? Risk, uncertainty, someone who might quit again, someone not up to date with the industry, skills that may have become obsolete while you were meditating on a mountain. You don't return at the salary level you left. You return at a lower level, with fewer options, at an age that's harder to hire. You compete against 2 8-year-olds who have current skills and no employment gaps. That's not the worst case. That's the likely case if the plan fails. And with $300K minimum capital, the probability of failure over 40 years is 40%. Let me give you a realistic scenario, not worst case, just realistic. Years 1 to 2, bear market crashes 35%. $300K becomes $195K. You still withdraw $12K annually because you have no choice, you have to eat. Year 3, your mother gets sick. 3 trips back to America at $2,000 each in flights alone, plus hotels, plus expenses. Emergency family support. Total $22,000 that year instead of $12,000. Years 4 to 5, market recovers 20%. But you've withdrawn too much. Your portfolio is playing catch-up. Balance. $160K. Year 6, you need minor surgery, gallbladder, appendix, something routine but necessary. $15,000 at a decent Bangkok hospital. Year 7, balance is $130K. Your withdrawal rate is now 9%. Mathematical death spiral. Unsustainable. This isn't worst case. This is realistic case. Each event individually is probable. Combined, this is what happens to real people. People who did nothing wrong. People who followed the plan perfectly. By this point, you might think I'm saying don't retire early. Work until 65. Accept your fate in the corporate machine. No, not at all. I'm saying there are 2 types of independence, fragile independence and genuine independence. Fragile independence is when you achieve freedom by minimizing everything until you have no buffer. You optimize for the minimum viable amount. One unexpected event, one market crash, one health crisis, one family emergency, and you collapse. Your freedom evaporates. Genuine independence is when you achieve freedom by building enough capability across multiple dimensions that no single failure can destroy you. You have redundancy. You have backup plans. You have margin of safety. The goal isn't to retire as early as possible. The goal is to build genuine independence, whether that happens at 40, 45, or 50. At Berkshire, we never depended on a single income stream. Insurance float, operating businesses, public stocks, cash reserves. When one part struggles, others compensate. That's why Berkshire has survived every crisis for 50 years. Personal financial independence needs the same approach. Charlie Munger's perspectives on retiring early always emphasize this multi-stream security model. Stream 1, capital generating passive income, not $300K, $600K to $1M, invested conservatively. Withdrawal rate of 3 to 3.5%, not 4%. This is your foundation, your bedrock, the thing that pays for your existence without any effort from you. Stream 2, skills generating active income when needed, not I could probably teach English online if I had to. Not I guess I could drive Uber. Rather, I have clients who pay me $3,000 to $5,000 monthly for consulting work I can do in 10 to 15 hours per week from anywhere in the world. This skill is insurance. You don't need to use it most of the time. But if markets crash, if emergencies hit, if your passive income falls short, you can generate income instead of withdrawing from a declining portfolio. You can let your investments recover while your skills pay the bills. Stream 3, low fixed costs with high flexibility, not being locked into one location because that's the only place you can afford. Not being trapped in Thailand because you can't afford to live anywhere else. Being able to live in Thailand Portugal, or return to America if needed because you have enough buffer. If your country becomes politically unstable, you can leave. If a family emergency requires you home, you can go. If you simply get tired of one place, you can move. That's real freedom. Being trapped in a cheap country isn't freedom, it's a different kind of prison. Stream 4, relationships that matter. Deep connections with people who would help you in a crisis and whom you would help. Not transient expat friendships, not drinking buddies. Real relationships built over decades. When something goes wrong, and eventually something always goes wrong, you need people who care whether you survive. People who will lend you money. People who will let you stay with them. People who will fly across the world to help you. Those people are more valuable than financial buffers. But you don't find them by moving to cheap countries and optimizing for cost. You build them over decades through consistent care, through being there when they need you, through maintaining connections across distance and time. Stream 5, health maintained through prevention. Exercise, nutrition, sleep, stress management, regular checkups. Every dollar spent on prevention saves $10 on treatment. Every hour spent on fitness saves weeks of reduced capacity later. The people who retire early and stay retired are disproportionately the people who stay healthy. That's not luck. That's discipline, applied consistently over decades. That's saying no to the extra drink, yes to the morning run, no to the cigarette, yes to the vegetables. Build all 5 streams. That's genuine independence. One mental model I've used my entire life, the 2-inch hurdle problem. If you optimize your life to barely clear a 2-inch hurdle, every small variation in the ground will make you trip. A small rock you didn't see, a small hole in the path, a patch of wet grass, any tiny imperfection, and you fall. But if you build capacity to clear a 12-inch hurdle, the 2-inch hurdles become trivial. You don't even notice them. You clear them without thinking. $300K retirement is 2-inch optimization. You're building exactly enough capacity to succeed under perfect conditions. No market crashes, no health problems, no family emergencies, no currency fluctuations, no loneliness. $750K to $1M plus skills plus relationships plus health is 12-inch capacity. You have buffer to handle when conditions aren't perfect. And conditions are never perfect. Not for 40 years. Not for anyone. If you're 30 years old and want genuine independence, by 45 to 50, here's the roadmap. From 30 to 35, focus on income growth, not just savings rate. Most young people obsess over cutting expenses, canceling subscriptions, eating ramen, never going out. That's important, but it has limits. You can only cut so much. Doubling your income is more valuable than cutting expenses by 20%. If you make $60,000 and save $15,000, you can cut expenses to save $18,000, or you can increase income to $100,000 and save $30,000. The math is obvious. Develop a skill. You can monetize remotely, consulting, writing, design, coding, coaching. I could probably do this if I had to, but I have actual clients who pay actual money. Build the skill now while you have a salary to fall back on. Invest consistently. $2,000 per month for 5 years at 7% return equals approximately $145,000. That's the start of your foundation. From 35 to 40, your skill should now generate side income, $10,000 to $20,000 annually. This is your proof of concept. This is evidence that you can generate income independent of an employer. Your main career reaches peak earning. This is your highest leverage time for saving. Save 40-50% of income aggressively. Portfolio growing, $300,000 to $400,000. Health habits established. Exercise 4 times weekly. Annual checkups. Good sleep habits. Stress management. These habits compound over decades. From 40 to 45, portfolio reaches $600,000 to $800,000. The compound growth is accelerating now. You can see the finish line. Your skill can generate $30,000 to $50,000 annually if needed. You've proven it works. You have regular clients. You could scale it up if you had to. Relationships maintained. Regular contact with people who matter, even when it requires effort and expense. Flying home for important events. Making time for old friends. This pays dividends you can't measure in dollars. Options expand. You can work less, relocate, shift to part-time, or fully retire. You have choices. You're not trapped. At $45, $750K plus portfolio. Proven income skill, geographic flexibility, strong relationships, good health. That's genuine independence. Not 35, but 45. A 10-year difference. But the difference between fragile and anti-fragile. The difference between hoping nothing goes wrong and being prepared when things do. I know what you're thinking. Let me address your objections directly. But the financial industry wants me to work forever. True. The financial industry has incentives to keep you working and invested so they can collect fees. They want maximum assets under management for maximum duration. I don't defend them. Their interests are not your interests. But the opposite of bad advice isn't automatically good advice. Sometimes the opposite of bad advice is different bad advice. The people selling you $300K retirement also have incentives. Blog traffic, YouTube views, course sales, affiliate commissions. They make money when you believe the dream, not when the dream works. Don't trust me. Don't trust the financial industry. Don't trust YouTube influencers. Think for yourself. Run the math with pessimistic assumptions. Ask, what happens if things go wrong? If the answer is I'm destroyed, that's not a plan. That's hope. But I hate my job. I understand. And I'm not saying you have to stay in a job you hate, but $300K retirement isn't a solution for hating your job. It's an escape. Escape and solution are different things. The solution is find work you don't hate. Build skills for better work. Change industries. Start something. Negotiate better conditions. Build relationships with people who could hire you for better roles. Those options are all available without gambling your entire future on minimum viable capital. 10 more years is too long. I want freedom now. 10 years feels long when you're 30 and miserable and want freedom now. But here's the math. If you retire at 35 with fragile independence and fail at 45, you return to work from 45 to 65. That's 20 years of working under worse conditions, older, rustier, less employable, with fewer options. If you work until 45 with genuine independence and never have to work again, that's 10 additional years of working under good conditions at peak career earnings, with maximum leverage, with options. 10 years of working under good conditions versus 20 years of working under bad conditions. The choice is obvious if you think clearly. What about people who succeeded with $300K? Some people succeed. Luck exists. People win the lottery. But do you build a life strategy based on winning the lottery? The people who succeed with $300K minimum often have things they don't mention. A spouse with income, family wealth to fall back on, skills that can generate income quickly if needed, citizenship that provides free health care. They have hidden safety nets. They're not actually as exposed as they appear. If you don't have those safety nets, you're not playing the same game they are. The lesson from $300K retirement isn't just about retirement. It's about how to live. Minimum viable thinking appears everywhere. Career, what job pays enough to cover my bills, instead of what career builds genuine capability. Relationships, who will tolerate me, instead of which relationship is truly nourishing. How many workouts can I skip and still be okay, instead of what routine builds lifetime health. Learning, What do I need to know to pass the interview instead of what do I need to know to be genuinely competent? Savings. What's the minimum I need to retire? Instead of what gives me genuine security? Every time you optimize for minimum, you build fragility. One hiccup and the system collapses. Every time you build margin of safety, you build anti-fragility. Stress makes you stronger instead of breaking you. In 99 years, I've learned one thing above all. The way to get what you want is to deserve what you want. Not to game the system, not to find loopholes, not to optimize for bare minimum, not to find the secret that they don't want you to know, but to actually build the capability to deserve the outcome you want. You want freedom? Build skills worth paying for. Build capital worth calling wealth. Build relationships worth calling community. Build health worth living long for. When you have those things, freedom is a natural byproduct. No tricks needed without any secrets, and nothing is minimum viable calculations. Let me summarize what we've discussed. 1. The $300K retirement math isn't wrong, but it optimizes for the wrong variable minimum capital instead of genuine security. 2. Failure modes are real and probable. Market crashes, health emergencies, currency risk, loneliness, family emergencies. Over 40 years, the probability that at least one occurs approaches certainty. 3. The 4% rule has hidden assumptions that don't apply to 40 to 50-year retirement in developing countries. 4. Psychology deceives you. Survivorship bias, availability bias, secret framing, loss aversion. Your brain is not your friend in this analysis. 5. Genuine independence requires multiple streams: capital, skills, relationships, health, flexibility. Build all of them, not just one. The question you should ask isn't, what's the minimum amount to stop working? The right question is, what do I need to build to be genuinely free? Free not just today, but free 20, 30, 40 years from now, regardless of what happens. That question leads to different behavior, different plans, different outcomes. I'm 99 years old. I've seen bull markets and bear markets, booms and busts, fortunes made and fortunes lost. I've watched smart people make stupid decisions and average people make brilliant ones. The universe has no obligation to make your timeline work. Reality doesn't care that you want to retire at 35. Reality doesn't care about your spreadsheet or your blog posts or your dreams. But reality does reward those who build genuine capability. Those who deserve freedom usually get it. Not through luck, not through tricks, through preparation, meeting opportunity. Build capability, build buffer, build margin of safety. Do that consistently for 15 to 20 years, and you'll have freedom that no one can take away. Freedom that survives market crashes. Freedom that survives health crises. Freedom that survives family emergencies. That's the only reliable path. Everything else is gambling. And in life, you don't want to gamble with what you cannot afford to lose. Wealth is built slowly. Wisdom is built slower. But both compound if you have the patience to let them.